When a billionaire's card was declined, a 7-year-old girl's incredible act changed everything. The sun beamed down on Maplewood, illuminating the well-worn sign that read Emma's Diner. Inside, the familiar scent of freshly baked pies wafted through the air, mingling with the sound of laughter and clinking dishes. Emma, a bright-eyed 7-year-old, darted between tables, her golden heart radiating kindness like beams of sunlight. She watched her parents work tirelessly, their smiles combined with the diner's charm created a warmth that enveloped the room. But today felt different. There was a buzz, an electrifying undercurrent of excitement as the townsfolk anticipated the arrival of Mr. Montgomery, the billionaire. As the door swung open, the bell chimed, announcing his presence. Dressed in a tailored suit that looked like it came straight from a runway, he strode in, exuding confidence. Conversations halted. Everyone's eyes widened and whispers floated through the space like butterflies. Would he donate to the diner? To the school? Mr. Montgomery had the power to change lives. But as he sat at the counter and ordered, an unexpected hush fell. When he swiped his card, there was a long pause. The clerk shook his head, and the little diner felt as if it had collectively inhaled sharply. Gasping breaths filled the room, judgment danced in the air. Watching the scene unfold, Emma's innocent spirit recoiled at the sudden tension. She took a deep breath, her pockets jingling with her meager allowance. "I can pay," she proclaimed, her voice cutting through the uneasy silence. Gasps echoed again, uncertainty creeping into the faces around her. Her parents exchanged worried glances, their hearts swelling with a mix of pride and fear. "Emma," no, her mother began, but Emma stood her ground, her small frame filled with resolve. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the tension thickened, Mr. Montgomery looked at Emma, his surprise melting into a swirl of emotions. He felt exposed, vulnerable, as if her small act of kindness had stripped away his status. The room was thick with whispers and every stare burned hotter than the last. Emma's brave gesture ignited conversations, forcing everyone to wrestle with their judgments about wealth. The community began to grapple with an unsettling truth. Mr. Montgomery wasn't just a billionaire, he was a man wrestling with expectations and loneliness. And Emma, the girl with the biggest heart, shook the very foundations of their beliefs. One small act radiated compassion, challenging preconceived notions of class and humanity. As emotions swirled like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind, a shared understanding began to emerge, sparking dialogue between the diner's patrons about empathy and connection. Yet, as day turned into dusk, the air shimmered with anticipation, leaving everyone on the edge of discovery. Could this simple act of kindness truly bridge the divide? Would it mend the hearts of a divided community and change Mr. Montgomery's life forever? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the diner, the unanswered questions lingered like the promise of something wonderfully transformative on the horizon. Emma stood firm, her gaze unwavering as she faced the billionaire. Everyone in the diner held their breath. It was a moment that felt suspended in time. Mr. Montgomery's eyes softened as he regarded the little girl who dared to stand against the burden of judgment cast upon him. He saw not just a child but a beacon of hope amidst the tension. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice gentle, touched by disbelief. With a resolute nod, Emma reached into her pocket, her small hand retrieving the crumpled bills she had saved from her allowance. "It's just a little. But I want to help," she said, her brown eyes shining with sincerity. A hush fell over the diner. Emma's parents, overwhelmed by a torrent of emotions from pride to dread, watched as Mr. Montgomery leaned forward. In that instant, he felt the weight of the world shift. What had once been a source of embarrassment morphed into an unexpected bond. He smiled, something genuine breaking through his guarded facade. "You are very brave, young lady," he said, accepting the money. There was a flicker of applause, hesitant at first but building into a chorus of appreciation. The diner's patrons, who had only moments ago whispered behind his back, began to cheer Emma on. "You've taught us a lesson today." One elderly man called out, his voice ringing with a mix of admiration. "You see people for who they are, not what they have." Mr. Montgomery took a deep breath, and for the first time in years, he felt a lightness in his chest. He placed the money back on the counter, refusing to accept payment in the way that society expected him to. "Let this be on me, and let us consider this a new beginning," he said, looking at Emma as if she were a guiding star. As he turned to the audience, an unfamiliar warmth washed over him. "Today, in this diner, you have shown me compassion and connection, something I thought I'd lost." The words rolled off his tongue, and he felt lighter, as though he was shedding the dark cloak of his loneliness. Even in that small diner, the transformation was palpable. The conversations around the room shifted, laughter erupted, and hearts began to open. Emma had unwittingly become a catalyst, an angel in a world that often felt unforgiving. It felt like a small miracle, but it was only the beginning. But as the evening unfolded and stories of their lives were exchanged, one question lingered in the air, unanswered: could Emma and the billionaire forge a friendship that would change both their lives forever? With renewed hope and joy filling their hearts, everyone in the diner wondered what this unusual bond could lead to. Little did they know, this was just the onset of a journey neither Emma nor Mr. Montgomery had anticipated, but one that would challenge everything they knew about love, generosity, and the true meaning of wealth. And as Mr. Montgomery took a seat among them, the air buzzed again, not with silence, but with possibilities. What would happen next when a billionaire began to step down from his pedestal? The laughter echoed through the diner, a warm embrace after moments of doubt. Emma beamed, her cheeks glowing like the summer sun. She couldn't quite grasp the ripple she had caused, the bridge she had built between worlds that felt so very far apart. For Mr. Montgomery, the applause felt like a gentle tide washing over years of isolation. He didn't just hear the cheers, he felt them deep in his chest, stirring emotions he had buried beneath a layer of wealth and success. "Thank you, Emma," he said, his voice thick with gratitude. The room began to settle as people returned to their conversations, but a shift had undeniably occurred. Heads turned and eyes watched, eager to see what would unfold next in this extraordinary evening. In the corner booth, a group of teenagers sat wide-eyed, glancing back and forth between the diner's little hero and the billionaire. Each of them held their smartphones tight, ready to capture a moment, a memory, an inspiration. They didn't know Emma well, but they instinctively felt her courage and kindness. Slowly, they began to whisper among themselves, their laughter sparking something new awareness. Mr. Montgomery cleared his throat, and the hum of excitement faded to a respectful hush. "You all have made me realize something invaluable tonight," he began, searching the faces in the diner. "It's too easy to forget that real wealth isn't in our bank accounts or our possessions, but in understanding one another." A ripple of conversation surged through the diner, murmurs of agreement igniting the atmosphere. Emma's parents exchanged proud glances, tears in their eyes as they witnessed this shift. They had seen the hardness in Mr. Montgomery, an armor forged by loneliness, and now, before them, was a man unearthing the first traces of vulnerability. "Why don't we do something to celebrate this new beginning?" Mr. Montgomery proposed, his voice growing stronger with each syllable. "Let us make the rest of tonight about connection, laughter, and understanding. Who's with me?" His proposal was met with bursts of enthusiasm. The older man from earlier raised his hand. "I have a guitar. I can play some songs." Several people nodded, their excitement multiplying. Within moments, the diner erupted into a delightful chaos, with chairs moving and laughter spilling freely. As a young waitress organized the impromptu show, Emma stood a little taller, her heart banging in excitement. She felt part of something bigger, something filled with promise. Mr. Montgomery caught her eye, and they exchanged a knowing smile. It was the spark of a friendship blooming slowly but surely. As the first chords of music filled the air, Emma thought back to her favorite spot by the creek, where everything seemed possible. She felt that same magic here, surrounded by laughter and budding camaraderie. The world felt wide open, vibrant with opportunity, but as the night unfolded, the mood shifted subtly. A man at the far table frowned, tapping angrily at his phone. He stood abruptly. "Excuse me. What's happening here? You can't just erase your past." Silence swept back over the room, tension creeping back in. Everyone paused, looks shared among those gathered. Emma sensed the atmosphere changing again, like dark clouds rolling in after a sunny afternoon. Would this moment break the newfound joy? And as Mr. Montgomery turned to face the man, uncertainty hanging thick in the air, Emma could only hope that her bold act wouldn't spiral this newfound connection back into old wounds. What would it take for them all to hold on to this spark, to not let anger and misunderstanding shatter it? The diner felt tense, almost stifling. Emma's fingers nervously fidgeted with her own napkin, the once warm atmosphere now fraught with uncertainty. She wished she could dissolve into the backdrop, become part of the hum of conversation again. Mr. Montgomery stood, shoulders slightly squared, ready to brave the storm brewing in the corner. "What do you mean, erase my past?" Mr. Montgomery replied, his tone firm yet measured. The earlier warmth in his voice was replaced by a quiet strength that resonated throughout the room. People leaned in closer, intrigued, their expressions varied, some worried, others curious. The man who had spoken up crossed his arms, his brows knitted tightly. "You think you can just change overnight? You want everyone to forget all the times you turned your back on people in need? You can't just play the hero now." Gasps rippled through the diner, people shifting awkwardly in their seats. Emma felt her heart quicken, inching closer to panic. She glanced at Mr. Montgomery, catching flickers of uncertainty on his face. "I'm not asking anyone to forget," he replied, his voice steady. "What I'm asking is for everyone to give me a chance to say I'm sorry, to make amends." He took a deep breath, searching the room with his gaze. "Change isn't easy. It requires vulnerability and taking responsibility for our actions. I want to do better. I want to be part of this community." For a moment, silence reigned. Emma could feel the weight of the man's words settling in the minds of her fellow diners. She watched as expressions transitioned from skepticism to consideration. Maybe, just maybe, that bridge Emma had built could hold steady, support change instead of collapsing under the weight of doubt. The man's posture softened just a touch. "And how do you plan to fix things if your heart isn't really in it? How do we know you won't just fade away again?" Emma's eyes brightened with inspiration. "You can't just hold your past against him," she called out, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. Heads turned toward her, astonished at the little girl who had channeled bravery. "He's trying to learn and grow. Don't you want people to have a second chance? I know I make mistakes, but my friends always help me do better." Her heart raced, each beat reverberating the truth she dared to share. The room felt lighter. Laughter rang out again from the guitar player as he struck up a new tune, an upbeat song that wrapped itself around the previously tense atmosphere like a warm burrito. Mr. Montgomery's lips curled into a smile, and he looked down at Emma, eyes shimmering with admiration. "Thank you, Emma," he said, his voice soft and genuine. "That completely sums it up. We are all learning in this life. I just hope you'll be there to see me take those steps, even if they're small." An old woman in the booth next to Emma nodded. "If he's really willing to show us he can change, I think we should give him a shot." One by one, people began to murmur in agreement. The earlier tension was dissolving, and laughter pierced the air again, rising and spilling like bubbles in a fresh bottle of soda. Emma felt a rush of relief wash over her, a happiness warming her from the inside out, but as the music played, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was still brewing. Just beyond the laughter and connection, she sensed that the journey ahead would be anything but simple. What if the man comes back? She wondered. The question hung heavy in the air, a reminder that not all voices would welcome change easily. Unbeknownst to her, Mr. Montgomery caught that flicker of worry in her gaze, the unspoken dread coiling back up as the night rolled on. How would he face those who doubted him again? Emma could feel that moment approaching, a challenge waiting just around the corner, uncertainty lingering like an uninvited guest. The music continued, mingling with warm smiles and laughter, but the undercurrent of tension sat there, like a shadow refusing to fade. It was still there, waiting to unravel the joy they had begun to weave. Would he rise to the challenge, or would the shadows of the past win? Emma could feel the eyes of the diner on Mr. Montgomery, the atmosphere shifting as they hung on his every word. There was hope, yes, but also that thick, quivering uncertainty that prickled at the back of her neck. Would he truly be able to step into this new role, or would those old shadows pull him back down? As laughter drifted in, she felt a smile tugging at her lips. It was contagious, but still, the doubt nagged at her. She couldn't help feeling like their fragile victory over the silence weighed just as heavily as the silence itself. Montgomery cleared his throat, creating another wave of attention. If I'm going to truly be here for you all, I need to prove something, he said, his gaze sweeping over his audience. Actions speak louder than words. After tonight, I will hold a community meeting to discuss how we can support one another. I want to know what you need from me. A murmur rippled through the crowd. It seemed many were weighing what he said. Emma felt a spark of something inside her. Could it be trust? The kind that flickers in the darkness, but still shines. Yet, before she could bask in that possibility, the door swung open with a creak, slicing through the upbeat melody. The wind howled outside, shadows dashing against the diner walls like impending storm clouds. Emma's heart sank as her gaze fell onto the person stepping into the warm light. It was the man who had questioned Mr. Montgomery, the one with the hard eyes and clenched fists. Gasps poured forth anew, and a heavy silence blanketed the crowded space once again. What is he doing here? Someone whispered. Montgomery's face hardened, but he kept his composure. The man strode toward him, expression unreadable. Emma held her breath, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Would he challenge Mr. Montgomery again? Yes, I came to see what all the fuss is about, the man said, his voice low and accusatory. You think you can fix everything just by talking? You're still the same person who walked away time and again. The tension in the diner returned with a vengeance, thickening the air. Mr. Montgomery's smile faltered for a brief moment, the warmth in his eyes dimming in response to the confrontation. I understand your skepticism, he replied, each word weighted with sincerity. It's going to take more than just my words to earn your trust. I'm here to show you that I'm committed. I need time, and I hope you'll give me that opportunity. Emma's heart raced as she felt the wave of doubt wash over the crowd. How could everything they had built seem so fragile again? Was this man going to snatch the hope they had begun to reclaim? People shifted in their seats, eyes darting from Mr. Montgomery to the man, waiting for the storm to break. The challenge was set, but would it all collapse once more under pressure? And then, as if sensing their unease, Emma stood firm once again. You can trust him. She called out, her voice breaking through the gathering storm like a sunbeam. He wants to be better. Time seemed to suspend, and for a moment, everyone fell silent, absorbing her words that resonated with unfiltered truth. Would they rally behind her belief in the possibility of change? As Emma sat down, her cheeks flushed with a mix of embarrassment and daring, she noticed Mr. Montgomery's steadfast gaze on her. That moment, delicate yet powerful, proved a challenge for those around them. But inside, the uncertainty loomed over her. Would the tide turn, or would history repeat itself once more? The diner's fate swayed on this blade of hope, poised between the past they all feared and a future they barely dared to dream about. What would happen next when the truth finally emerged? The diner hung in silence, the kind of quiet full of questions and doubts hanging in the air like storm clouds. Emma's heart thumped in her chest as she tried to gauge the mood of the crowd. They looked uncertain, their eyes flicking from Mr. Montgomery to the man who had challenged him, waiting for some kind of resolution, a sign that hope wasn't just a fragile whisper in the dark. "Can we trust you?" someone finally dared to ask, breaking the stillness. Mr. Montgomery seemed to actually consider the question, and the gravity of it weighed heavily on everyone. He took a step closer to the man, his voice steady but laced with vulnerability. "I know trust isn't given freely. It's earned, brick by brick. But I promise to show you I can be different. I want to build something here with all of you." The man's eyes narrowed, still not convinced. "You think a few words will change everything? We all remember what you did." Emma felt a wave of frustration. The truth of the man's words was undeniable, but it didn't have to define their future. "What about second chances?" she called out again, this time with more conviction. "We all deserve a chance to change, don't we?" A ripple of murmurs spread through the diner. Some nodded, their expressions softening, while others remained skeptical. It was a delicate balance of hope and fear, and Emma felt the weight of both pressing down on her. "Let us not forget the work ahead," Mr. Montgomery continued, his gaze back on the crowd, inclusive and earnest. "I'd like to hear your concerns, your needs. I want this meeting not just to protect what we have but to enhance it. Imagine what we could accomplish together." The man crossed his arms, still unconvinced. "And what if you screw it up again? Then what?" Emma could sense the tension in the air, as thick as molasses. "We get back up. Just like we always do," she replied, her voice rising, fueled by a sudden fire inside her. "We can't live in fear of what might go wrong. We have to take the chance to move forward." Mr. Montgomery's eyes flicked over to Emma, surprise and appreciation mixing in his expression. For a brief moment, the tension faded as the crowd absorbed her words. Some were nodding slowly, while others appeared to really be thinking for the first time. Then, breaking the tension like glass, laughter erupted from the corner booth. A small child had spilled her drink, and everyone's heads turned to see the moment of levity. The girl giggled, her innocence and joy cutting through the air like a beacon. It was like a reminder that life continues, messy and unfiltered, regardless of all the looming questions. In that moment, the community shared a collective breath. There was something so beautiful in that laughter, like a sign that even in chaos, joy could pierce through. "See? We can still find laughter here," Mr. Montgomery said, a hint of a smile breaking through his serious demeanor. "Let us take this moment together." As the energy shifted, Emma felt a glimmer of possibility. Could this be the starting line they needed, a moment of unity to push through the cracks of old pain and resentment? But just then, the door swung open again, this time revealing a familiar figure, an old man, bent with age but with eyes that sparkled with wisdom, stepping into the diner. Emma felt a spark of recognition flood through her. He was a pillar of the community. What now? She thought, her pulse quickening. What did he have to say that could change everything again, just when they were finding hope? Would this be the moment they had been waiting for, or yet another storm cloud looming over their heads? The old man shuffled toward the center of the diner, his cane tapping gently against the worn wooden floor. The chatter faded as people turned to him, faces filled with curiosity and a hint of apprehension. He had been a neighborhood fixture for years, and when he spoke, everyone listened. "Good evening, folks," he began, his voice gravelly but warm. "I know a lot of weight is on your hearts tonight. We've dealt with more than our share of storms. But I believe there's still sunshine on the horizon." Emma felt hope swell within her as he spoke, but she also sensed the tension trying to creep back in. This was a pivotal moment, and the weight of it felt impossibly heavy. "Sometimes," he continued, fixing his gaze on Mr. Montgomery, "you've got to face the music to bring harmony back into the community. What you've done has hurt us. It's going to take more than promises to mend what's broken." Mr. Montgomery opened his mouth to respond, but the old man waved a hand. Let me finish. We all know mistakes have been made. We've lost trust. But every single one of us has an opportunity to show what we stand for. It's about actions, not words. In the back, someone murmured, like the last time? The old man nodded, an understanding look crossing his weathered face. He turned back to the crowd, unfazed. True. The last time was tough. But look around you. There's resilience here. There's hope. And even in the face of doubt, community shines brightest. His eyes swept over everyone, igniting a flicker of something deeper. I may be old, but I know one thing, we are not just defined by our past, but by our commitment to our future. Emma's heart soared as she felt the energy shift again. The room buzzed with a sense of clarity. This was no longer about what had happened, but about what could happen next. The man who had challenged Mr. Montgomery finally unfolded his arms. So what do you suggest, old man? His tone was softer now, more open. Start by rebuilding the small bridges, the old man said, a twinkle in his eye. Invite each other over for a meal, get to know one another. Find the common ground. We need a community board too, a place where every voice can be heard. The crowd began to nod, and Emma found herself feeling lighter, like a weight had been lifted. I like that, she spoke up again boldly. Let us organize events, get more involved. It's not just about trusting each other, it's about being together. The laughter earlier echoed in her mind, a sound nearly lost amidst the heaviness of the conversation. Slowly, smiles began to appear again. And we can give back too. Someone shouted from the corner booth, generating ripple laughter and chatter. Ideas bounced around the diner like fireflies, a community garden, bake sales, movie nights. As energy buzzed through the room, Mr. Montgomery finally added, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves, work harder than ever before. Let us map out a plan. For the first time, it felt like the pieces were coming together, a path out of the darkness, but just as they began to feel a collective drive, the door swung wide open once more. This time, two figures burst in, their faces lit with excitement but their breaths uneven. They looked frantic, like they were carrying news. Emma felt her pulse quicken again. What now? She thought, anxiety mingling with the remnants of hope. What could they possibly bring that would shake the progress they had just begun to build? Eyes widened in the diner as the two figures strode in, the tension palpable. Emma squinted, trying to get a clearer look at them. One was a young woman, disheveled but beaming, while the other was an elderly man in a suit, his brow furrowed. Their presence stole the air from the room, drawing everyone's attention sharply away from the hopeful conversations that had just begun. Is everything all right? A voice broke the silence, trembling with concern. The woman took a deep breath as she raised her hands, palms outward as if to calm the crowd. We have amazing news. But it's complicated. There was an excited tremor in her voice that made Emma's heart race. Complicated how? Mr. Montgomery asked, standing taller now, the remnants of his earlier resolve still with him. The elderly man took a step forward. We've just come from a meeting with the city council. They've decided to fund a community center right here, but they need local support to make it happen. A murmur swept through the diner. Emma's heart leapt. A community center could be the perfect cornerstone for everything they just discussed: the sharing of meals, volunteering, and maybe even healing old wounds. What's the catch? Someone from the back called out, uncertainty still creeping into the atmosphere. The young woman nodded, her excitement wavering slightly. That's where the complications come in. The funding hinges on community involvement. We need volunteers, donations, and you believe this. We need to show that we can come together despite everything. Emma exchanged glances with others. The doubts were still there, but what if they really could succeed together? What do you need from us? Emma stepped forward, her voice steady, determined. "We need you to organize," the man replied earnestly. "We're talking community events, bake sales, cleanup days. Get everyone involved. Show the city we care." Heads bobbed in agreement, and murmurs of excitement began to return. Emma felt a surge of energy. This felt different. Hope was blossoming again. "And we need a spokesperson," the woman added, her eyes scanning the room. "Someone who embodies unity." The crowd's chatter halted once more as they turned to look at Emma. It was as if time stood still. Fingers tightened around cups, eyes wide and waiting. She hadn't considered leading this kind of effort, but she couldn't deny the pull she felt, the weight of expectation mingling with the hope fluttering through the air. "I'll do it," Emma said, surprising even herself. "I want to be part of this." Cheers erupted, voices overlapping in a joyful cacophony. Apprehensions faded as Emma felt like she was stepping into something bigger than herself. As she looked around, seeing the flicker of excitement and determination in her neighbors' eyes, everything felt possible. This wasn't just about a community center anymore, this was about healing old rifts, creating lasting bonds. But just as she began to sense the crowd rallying behind her, the elderly man's expression shifted. "There's one more thing," he said, his voice thick with urgency. "When we called for support, we may have inadvertently stirred up a tension that could bring unwanted challenges. We need to be vigilant." Questions swirled in Emma's mind. What challenges could possibly emerge now that momentum was building? Anxiety prickled at her senses. They had come so far, she couldn't let fear overshadow this moment. The sense of resilience the old man spoke about echoed in her thoughts, urging her forward. Emma took a deep breath, knowing that the real work was just beginning. How would they prepare for hurdles they hadn't encountered yet? The door swung shut behind the frantic duo, sealing in the moment. Emma turned to the group, determination radiating from her. "Let's take this on together." But even as they celebrated, a flicker of uncertainty lingered in the air. What kind of challenges awaited them? Would they falter under pressure, or could they learn to trust one another when it mattered most? The cheers and excitement floated in the air, but Emma felt a tight knot of apprehension in her stomach. She scanned the room, her mind racing with a million thoughts. How did they, a small town with history full of rivalries, come together to make this happen? Someone clapped a hand on her shoulder, jarring her from her swirling thoughts. It was Lucy, an elderly woman known for her baking prowess. "Don't you worry, dear. We all want this. We'll come together. It's time to heal and share what we have." Her voice was warm and filled with conviction. Emma nodded, embracing Lucy's encouragement, but the knot in her stomach didn't fade. "We just need a plan," Emma said, loud enough to capture everyone's attention again. "It starts with us meeting regularly to organize. Let's set some dates now." Someone suggested Thursday evenings, and suddenly everyone was pitching in. Ideas floated around like balloons, each suggestion adding to the atmosphere of hope swelling inside Emma. They brainstormed bake sales, craft fairs, and community potlucks. She could almost see the community center gathering life, already a place where laughter would echo, children would run, and neighbors would share more than just smiles. Yet amidst the planning, Emma's mind flicked back to the old man's warning. What were these unwanted challenges? She felt a pang of doubt but pushed it aside. It wouldn't do to let fear seep into their goal now. As the meeting wrapped up, Emma felt a warm hand clasp hers. It was Sam, a young father whose past mistakes had cost him his job. "Emma, thank you for stepping up. You really believe we can do this, don't you?" "I do, Sam," she said, meaning it. Hope was contagious. "So if anything does come up, we'll face it together, right?" he continued, blue eyes shining with a determined glint. "Absolutely," she replied, her posture growing taller. "This is about more than just a building. It's about reviving our spirit." That assurance seemed to ripple through the group, giving them strength. They separated, each person leaving with a renewed sense of purpose, yet Emma felt uneasy. She couldn't shake the feeling that shadows loomed at the fringes, and she needed to find out what they were. In the weeks that followed, they began to gather momentum. People volunteered, flyers went up, and donations trickled in. Emma's phone buzzed constantly with supportive messages, but every time it rang, a small part of her braced for bad news. One evening, she found herself at the diner late, sorting through envelopes of donations, her mind wandering. Just then, the door swung open. It was the elderly man in the suit, his face an unreadable mask. Emma's heart raced, half in excitement, half in worry. Had he come to deliver news, or was it a warning? "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice low as the door clicked shut behind him. Emma's stomach twisted. What could he possibly say that would change everything they had worked for? The weight of uncertainty settled deep in her bones as she nodded. Of course. What's wrong? As he stepped closer, she caught the flicker of something in his eyes, something that hinted at the challenges he had mentioned before. What did he know that she didn't? About the community center he started, and Emma's breath caught. Would this news puncture the fragile hope they had built? She leaned in, heart racing, hanging on his every word. What was he about to reveal? "Before I begin," the old man said, his voice steady but edged with unease, "I want to commend you, Emma. You've ignited a fire in this town that many thought was extinguished." Emma felt a warm rush of pride at his words. She had poured her heart into this project, and seeing its impact fueled her determination. "But," he continued, the seriousness in his tone returning, "there are some concerns from the council regarding the funding. They need assurances that this community can stick together. There have been whispers of dissent, and some people still doubt that Mr. Montgomery is genuine in his desire to change." Her heart dropped. "But we've come so far. We're planning events, gathering support. Why wouldn't they believe in us?" The man rubbed the stubble along his jawline, the worry weighing heavily in his eyes. "A few naysayers can ripple through a group like a rock in a pond. It could sink what you've all worked for if those fears are allowed to grow. I fear that if these doubts aren't addressed, we could lose the chance altogether." Emma felt a chill race down her spine. She had faced challenges before, but this felt bigger. "What should we do?" she asked, her voice steadying as resolve forged within her. "You need to rally support again. Engage with the skeptics, show them that your plans will benefit everyone, not just the hotshot billionaire or young dreamers like yourself. Hold a town meeting, a chance for everyone to voice their concerns and to celebrate what you are all building together." She nodded. "You're right. We need to prove to them that this is not just a nice thought but something we can achieve together. It's about community." Emma felt her confidence swell. They couldn't let fear or uncertainty block the light that had started to pierce through the shadows. "I'll organize the meeting," she exclaimed. The old man smiled, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of optimism amid the storm. Over the next several days, Emma worked tirelessly, her determination galvanizing those around her. Flyers were distributed across town. Conversations erupted in the diner, the grocery store, at school. Everyone began to talk about the meeting. Emma's excitement grew as the days drew closer, but so did the anxiety of what those discussions might reveal. On the night of the town meeting, Emma filled the diner with chairs, creating extra space for attendees. The air buzzed with energy, a melting pot of excitement and apprehension. Mr. Montgomery seated himself at the front, his presence striking. He glanced over at Emma and nodded, an unspoken agreement passing between them. They were in this together. As the community began to gather, Emma stood at the podium, her shoulders back, facing her neighbors. "Thank you all for being here tonight. I know times have been tough, and doubts linger. But we have a chance to build something amazing here together." The crowd nodded, some faces still skeptical. A man in the back raised his hand. "What makes you think he's really changed?" His voice cut through the bustling conversations, heavy with judgment. Emma swallowed hard before continuing. That's a fair question. All of us have doubts about change, it's human nature. But sometimes, it takes vulnerability to truly connect. Mr. Montgomery wants to help. We can't erase the past, but we can decide what we want the future to look like. As she spoke, more hands came up, inquiries mixed with concerns that painted a complex portrait of the room. But Emma stood firm, addressing each worry. She felt the collective heartbeat of the community. The more she spoke, the more vulnerable voices emerged. Mr. Montgomery then stepped up beside her. I understand the concerns. I've made mistakes, and I own that. But I'm here to show you I can be different. Together, we can create something lasting that benefits all of us. His voice was deep, filled with sincerity, and for the first time, she watched hesitant expressions soften, consider the weight of possibility. The discussion swirled and twisted, the tension gradually giving way to hope. Questions transformed into ideas and visions for the future. They began to map out their community center, pouring their hearts into how it could function as a place of learning, laughter, and resilience. Emma gazed around, feeling the energy electrify the room. Laughter bubbled up, recipes were exchanged, and a buzz of coming together permeated every corner of the diner. The shadows that had loomed once began to dissolve, replaced by the glow of hope. Days passed, and a palpable change swept through Maplewood. The tentative trust began setting roots. Mr. Montgomery worked side by side with the townspeople, helping wherever he could, gradually peeling back the layers of skepticism. It felt like an unbreakable chain forming a network of support and understanding. As the weeks turned into months, the community thrived. Emma watched with shining eyes as neighbors came together to paint walls, fundraise, and even construct the nascent community center. They learned from each other, and real stories of transformation threaded through the town. On the day they cut the ribbon for the new community center, Emma stood beside Mr. Montgomery, nervous excitement coursing through her veins. She couldn't believe how far they had come. The pain of the past faded against the hopeful resonance of a bright tomorrow. In that moment, as the crowd cheered and the air filled with laughter and celebration, Emma felt a surge of pride. She had become a catalyst for change, a reminder that sometimes the smallest hearts hold the greatest courage. And that community based on second chances, compassion, and shared laughter could indeed heal even the deepest wounds. As the sun set over Maplewood, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Emma beamed at her friends and family. They had faced uncertainty together, unearthed bonds, and crafted a new narrative, one filled with love, resilience, and the promise that change is always possible when you dare to believe in each other. And Emma vowed, as she looked at Mr. Montgomery, that they would continue to embrace that purpose, a lifelong journey of transformation, side by side. But as the festivities rolled on, one lingering question bubbled quietly in the back of her mind. What wondrous adventures awaited them next in their newfound bond? The stories were just beginning, sparkling on the horizon like the glow of a new dawn. Don't miss out on more amazing stories. You need to subscribe now to stay updated. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help get these stories shared. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Together, we can build a community of hope and change.